now.
Welcome to the My Haunt Life podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 16 of the My Haunt Life podcast. This is the Midsummer Scream review special. I'm Mike.
And I'm Russell.
We just got back from Midsummer Scream. It was this past weekend. It was the first ever and hopefully the first annual Midsummer Scream convention. It was in Long Beach at the Long Beach Convention Center. And Russell, what are your overall thoughts about it?
I think going into it, it's everyone was talking about it's sort of a first-year con, even though we know that it was started by some people who had worked with Scare LA in the past. This did not feel like a first-year con. I had such a good time. I had so much fun at this thing this past weekend. It was great. I had a blast.
I did too. And there was so much variety, it seemed.
Yes.
Like there were haunts, there were escape rooms, there were paranormal things. There was, on top of that, there was the things you would expect to see, like the arts and crafts type people, like the bow people, the prints people, the art people. But
furniture people, mask people, makeup people,
special effects,
fog
people.
machine people. Yeah, it covered everything that you would ever want if you're a home haunter or a professional haunter. I think it was a rollicking success, definitely.
Rollicking?
Rollicking.
Can you explain what rollicking is, please?
So rollicking, it was a rollicking good time. Come on.
What does that mean?
So it was really fun.
That's what rollicking means.
So do you want me to give you a textbook definition?
Please, why not?
I would have to look it up.
So you say words that you don't know what they mean.
All the time.
All right. Jibba blabba. So
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, it's all you.
No, I was going to say I was going to ask you, we did a lot of the stuff together. We did a few things on our own. We arrived Saturday morning, and do you want to just go in order?
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay, cool. The first thing that I did was I actually had pre-ordered something from Halloween Psycho, and I just dropped by and picked that up from them, a little drink tray with cobwebs and creepy things carved into the wood.
And you had mentioned them on the last podcast, right?
The reason I mentioned them in the last podcast, yes, I did. That is where I had bought Debbie's birthday present. And I liked her birthday present so much that I called them and I went, do you have any more of those? Because I kind of want one for my coffee table. And they did. They actually they were in the process of making a couple more for the conventions. And they plan on being at Scare LA, which is the weekend after this podcast. So, but they were at Midsummer Scream as well. And Gina and Michael, great people. If you like creepy furniture, coffin-shaped bookcases, lots of arts and crafts type stuff, and really good, interesting coffee tables shaped like Ouija boards. There was lots of cool stuff that they have. But we stopped there, and then we were lucky enough to run into someone that we knew, Mike.
Yes, Josh from Blackout. We ran into him, and he was about to leave to do something else, and out of the kindness out of his Blackout heart, he let us preview the Blackout VR experience. And holy crap. It was probably 10:30 in the morning, and seeing what we saw in the VR, wow.
Yeah, you usually have to wait until midnight to see such sights.
Yeah, you don't need coffee after what we saw.
I guess the background is it's called the Blackout Anthology, and Blackout is experimenting with the virtual reality technology, and they are hopefully planning on a series of immersive environments to explore. This was a teaser trailer which they have come up with to basically promote what they are trying to explore in the future. Did that come out clear? Okay.
No. Not at all.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
Yeah, so basically what this was a 90-second trailer for the upcoming Blackout Anthology series. Unfortunately, it doesn't sound like this trailer will be shown anywhere just yet. This was just kind of a sneak preview to get people excited and talking about it. Blackout partnered with Secret Location in Toronto to help create this, and the people that went through at Midsummer Scream got an exclusive look at one of the trailers, and it got me so excited to see what else is going to be there.
It's so disturbing.
And the cool thing is there's so many Easter eggs from Blackout. Like, if you're a survivor, you could see certain things written, and it's like, oh my God, there's that. And oh, that's from Elements, and that's from this, and, things like that. And it was so rad. And every VR experience that I've seen has, you know, most VR is cool, but none of it has really super horror. Like, you feel like you are in the middle of a horror movie with this.
Yeah, it's I really don't want to give away the imagery, but it was violent, it was very sexual, it was very intimate. I know that you guys enjoyed watching me watch it for the first time because I freaked out a bit. And I will say that some of the imagery is so disturbing, and one in particular image of two people being hurt, which literally I'm sure that thing was, I only saw 2 seconds of it, I'm sure, because it's very jump cutty, it's very flash framey oriented, but like I guarantee you there's one image in that thing that is branded on my brain for the rest of my life.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so disturbing. And I'm gonna say it, Mike, kind of erotic and kind of hot.
Moving on. No.
There was a couple images in there that I went, wow, okay, that's touching something deep.
Getting to know Russell on My Haunt Life. And for those of you that went through Blackout VR and saw it, now you know just how truly disturbed Russell is.
Yeah, it was, yeah. All right, I'll admit to that. Come on. You felt nothing?
It was awesome. I felt excitement. I wouldn't say I was turned on.
Okay, all right.
But
moving on.
No, not moving on yet. So you mentioned me watching you, and it was hilarious because it's already hilarious watching people in doing VR because they're there with, you know, this big, huge goggle-like thing on their head. They can't see. They're looking around, and it's just kind of funny. When you put it on Russell and you put a Blackout trailer on it, and what's in the trailer makes Russell do his haunt noises and move around this big, huge space, move around so much that Josh actually had to go to where the curtains were to form a boundary so you wouldn't go through the curtains. Like, you just kept moving, like, back, and there was so many,
Yeah, I kept jumping back.
Yeah.
There were moments in the VR experience where things jumped forward towards you, and I kept jumping backwards every time one of them popped forward. And it was very disturbing.
And I do have it on video, so
great.
I'm gonna try to. It's very dark in there. I'm gonna try to lighten it up and see if we can post that.
Great. Well, I actually tried to take pictures of you because, Mike, you were grinning like a little kid at Christmas. You had like, look, you're my friend, but you have this one goofy grin, like really goofy grin, and you had that goofy grin on for the entire time. It was just it was really exciting to see it. It's really interesting to see where they're going to be heading with this because it is such dark material, and feeling immersed around such violent images. I walked away, it was exciting to see because I was scared, and I like being scared. So I had that excitement afterwards, but I got to admit, I thought about it several times during the day of like, wow, and like I said, there was one image in particular where two people are being harmed simultaneously, and it kind of flashes on for a couple of seconds. For some reason, that image really came back to me multiple times. And there was also another image where you suddenly see someone seated. You feel like you can reach out and touch him. You feel like he's inches away from you. That person really disturbed me. Like what was going on with that person. Congratulations to Blackout.
Yeah. Another thing that I was thinking about is this is the first time we really experienced anything that Blackout has done in the light. So being able to see every single thing that was happening and see people's faces and see what they're going through, like that added another element to Blackout.
You mean the characters in the VR? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
You're right. It's And basically, what Mike said about Easter eggs. Let's just say that there's walls that you can read stuff on and things that are being moved around that you catch glimpses. And if you're a Blackout survivor and you have been to a few shows, you may recognize some things from your past.
Yeah, and also, Blackout going into VR is, once again, they're kind of setting the stage. You know, they were the first extreme haunt. They had the balls to try something new and different. And again, they're doing that. They're going into VR. So, you know, I'm sure just like the original Blackout, there'll be haunt copycats of this as well in the future if this is successful.
Yeah, I wish them well with this. I hope this becomes something that they can explore for years.
Yeah. And VR seems to be the next huge, amazing thing anyway. So if I can have something from Blackout and do it anytime I want and not have to wait till October or an off season, I'm in.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. And actually, at Midsummer Scream, there was a virtual reality panel featuring several people, including Josh Randall from Blackout. And we were doing some other stuff for the podcast when it began, and I slipped in, Mike, at the very end. I saw like the last 35, 40 minutes, I believe. And, I won't go into details about what was discussed, but my impression from the panel is the basic takeaway seemed to be it's the Wild West. Virtual reality is like everyone's trying to figure out how to make it work. Lots of companies are experimenting with it, but no one seems to know exactly what the future is. And even in that panel in the audience, people were asking like, well, are there going to be VR movies? Which long-form entertainment seems doubtful. And even people on the panel were going, well, if you think of the logistics of a virtual reality 90-minute experience, first of all, it could make you physically ill for some people because some people can't handle the VR environment very long. So it was an interesting conversation, but the takeaway for me was sort of nobody knows where this is going to lead. And, a few years ago, motion capture was in this position where nobody knew exactly all of the technical finesse that was needed in motion capture. And motion capture has progressed by leaps and bounds in years. So I think virtual reality is coming. And at Sundance, I told you, Mike, that I had done a couple of virtual reality experiences. Google Cardboard, which is out there, offers some stuff that, the kind of a low-res stuff that you can play with on your phone. If you search for Google Cardboard, you can find some experiences like that. It's something to keep your eye on. And horror fans, an immersive horror environment, this genre is so ripe for VR.
So as of now, there aren't any dates or times set for when this will be released. So in the meantime, check out Blackout's website at theblackoutexperience.com and sign up for their mailing list. On Facebook, Blackout Haunted House. Instagram, The Blackout Experience. And on Twitter, NYC Haunted House. The next thing we did was the Crossroads Escape Games minigame. They had set up a mini asylum that you had to get out of. And we were actually the first to try this. And we didn't escape, but it doesn't matter because it was so much fun.
Yeah, we had a blast.
And Russell, what was your favorite part of it?
The beginning.
Which was my personal hell.
Why?
We'll explain, and people will understand.
So the beginning, and if you follow Crossroads Escape Games on social media, you've probably seen the pictures and wondered what the heck was going on with people. They have a couple of straitjackets, and it's a 2-person 10-minute game called the Asylum. So you basically escape from a room in an asylum. And you start out by being restrained together and then wrapped with a few belts and locks. And the escape game is you have some maneuverability of a couple of your hands. Each person has one hand that they can use. And you have to figure out your way out of the escape room and figure out your way of the locks attached to your body. And it was kind of humorous. Mike and I were sort of tied side by side and bound very tightly together with the belts and the straitjackets, and it just made us really, really awkward.
That's how we're doing the podcast right now, actually, because we liked it so much.
And I still can't reach that one darn lock. So,
but I can't reach that itch.
And I'm not going to. So I had a blast with this. I absolutely love this premise. And to be totally honest, Mike and I just looked at each other and spoke very briefly, kind of off the record, where, like, do we talk about this? Because it's such a cool thing, but they have posted pictures of it. So we did not escape, and actually we learned later that they changed one puzzle after several people failed, I guess, because we learned out people got a better clue to one of the things inside than we had. So there's no shame in not escaping, but we had such a good time. It was so awkward trying to move around in a small space that way, and it's like we weren't a complete failure. We did get partially out of everything, but it's so clever. It's so well done. I hope this becomes part of one of their upcoming rooms.
I think that they could offer that in just somewhere in their warehouse as a 2-person only, like however much they charge to do that.
Are you kidding? If they offered that and could switch the puzzles out, I would play that again in a second.
Oh yeah,
because it is one of those things that we've talked about escape rooms in the past that you have to work together. Well, holy crap! If you are literally bound in a straitjacket with someone else, you have to work together. And it's designed in a way that one person has to hold something while the other person maneuvers something else. It's so well done. I loved this little game. I had such a good time. And I really enjoyed playing it with you, Mike, even though we didn't get out.
Thanks.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, going back to the escape room, it was 10 minutes long. And one of the things we always say about Crossroads is the decor and the environment that they put you in, and this was no different. You are in a padded cell. Just everything about the room was just great. The walls looked dirty. They were actually padded. There was the little I guess peephole type thing where the nurse could look in on you and make sure you weren't committing suicide or anything like that. And it was just a fun and quick room. And we just mentioned this, but like, I seriously, Madison and Luke, if you're listening to this, like, seriously, you should consider keeping that on premises and playable. I know this is more of it was built for the conventions, but if you have the room for it, I would definitely offer it. Like, I would come play, and the lines that were at Crossroads both days.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
it was a hit.
Yeah. People would come, I think. And so please offer it again, because I want to do it again.
Yes, I want to do it again with new clues and get out.
Yeah. If I have to pay so I don't have to wait in a Scare LA line to do it again, I will do it, and I think countless others will as well. And it's already built. So this is turning into a please Crossroads.
Yes,
keep
please
it.
Crossroads, please.
So, but that should tell you how much we adore Crossroads and their games. So again, Madison, it was awesome. Thank you. And Luke wasn't there, but we were able to catch up with Madison because they made a special announcement at the escape room panel earlier in the day. And so here's a little interview that I did with Madison.
And we should mention, Mike, before we get into the interviews, we recorded several interviews at Midsummer Scream, and you will notice that there is a lot of background noises. So if you hear screams, if you hear moaning, if you hear machinery going off, no one's dying. It's just the sounds of a haunt Halloween horror-esque convention.
Or is it?
All right, and now, Mike, back to your interview with Madison.
Hi, I'm Madison Rhodes from Crossroads Escape Games. I am one of the co-owners and the creative director.
We tried your mini escape room at Midsummer Scream called the Asylum, and the object was to escape the room, obviously, but also to escape from your split personality. And can you give us a little bit of history on how you came up with that and the thought process behind straitjacketing 2 people together?
Yeah, actually, it's an idea we had long before we even opened. It was something that Luke thought of. He's the other co-owner. The Asylum is that you are suffering from split personality disorder, so we straitjacket the 2 people together so they have to function as one human being. And through that, they have to get the locks off of their person, get the straitjacket off, and inside one of their hands is actually the key to the door to get out. So it's a small, just 10-minute mini game. But it came into being just from us always wanting to try something new. We've played a lot of escape rooms ourselves, so we're just always trying to find some way to change the game up. Usually it's just getting out of a room, so the fact that you also have to get out of a straitjacket is just adding one more element to the entire experience.
What's the feedback been? Because this was a free thing that you offered, have you had a lot of people that are new to escape rooms go in there not knowing what the heck they're doing once you start putting a straitjacket on them?
Yeah, that's actually our favorite thing about escape rooms is our games are so different that even if you're experienced or not experienced, we throw you into this room that's just completely different than what everyone else is used to. Like, this is just a blank padded cell. And when you first walk in, you're like, there's nothing in here. Like, how am I supposed to get these locks off? There's, like, nothing even to solve. But once you dig in a little bit further, you can actually find those puzzles. So it's been a great one for enthusiasts and first-timers. It definitely was built more for a first-timer's experience, just because a lot of people still don't know what an escape room is. And even if you explain it to them, they still are just like, they think it's a video game or a VR thing. So we wanted to have this mini game here so people realize, like, oh, no, it's really me without my cell phone trying to get out. And it just becomes a much more, I don't know what the word is, just exciting experience because they actually get to feel that adrenaline rush.
Great. And you were on an escape room panel yesterday, and you had some very, very exciting news. I was wondering if you could share that.
Yeah, so the big news for Crossroads, our next game, which is hopefully going to open in October, is it's going to be called The Ward. So our Asylum minigame was like our little teaser to The Ward. I don't think there's going to be a straitjacket involved for sanitary reasons. But The Ward, what we're going to do is we're going to switch up the gameplay again, kind of like what we did with the Hex Room. But this time, instead of it being a team-building experience, we're actually going to be putting people against each other. So before the game starts, you will be told if you're insane or sane, in secret. So during the game, the goal is to get either the sane people out or the insane people out. But you don't know who's on your side, and they don't know what side that you're on. So it's a weird game of trust, and you could manipulate people and lie to people. During the game, there will also be, we're thinking of solitary confinement, where one person gets put alone in a room, and in this process, they can find out the truth to one person, if they're insane or sane. And this will happen throughout the game. So slowly, more pieces will come out as to who's on whose side, but not enough to help you completely. You still have to trust some people.
That sounds amazing.
It's going to be cool. It's just going to be something different, something that's that no one's touched before.
Now, one of the things that's, I think, really sets Crossroads apart is the set design. You really feel like you're immersed, like, in the fun house. Like, you feel like you're in a circus. And in the Hex Room, just every different room, it's just so great, and there's so much attention to detail. For something like The Ward and seeing a teaser, how can you change up a padded room?
Well, I mean, even in our Asylum game, the padded room is still very realistic. And also, it was our way of figuring out, how do you make a padded cell on a budget? So in this next one, I don't know if we're going to be going full padded cell because it is very limiting as far as like what props you can put in there. Another thing with our full-length game is we might not make it so you have to escape within an hour. It's you have so many things to do that it's getting as much done as you possibly can. So no matter what, every person has the entire hour experience. Because that's also a thing. When people get out a little too fast, they feel cheated. Or if they don't make it out, they feel like a failure. It's going to be more of just like, how much can you do in this hour?
Now, unfortunately, we're drawing to a close Midsummer Scream, but next week at Scare LA, you'll be there as well, correct?
Yes, with our minigame again.
And so you'll have Asylum there as well.
Yeah.
Great. So if you missed Midsummer Scream and you're listening to this, go check them out at Scare LA, and you can play it and get straitjacketed with someone you know or possibly do not know. So where can people find out more information about Crossroads?
On our website is the best place. It's just crossroadsescapegames.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well.
Great. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So that was the interview with Madison. Thank you again for your time. For more information on Crossroads and their games, go to crossroadsescapegames.com. On Facebook, Crossroads Escape Games. On Instagram, cross_roads_escape_games. And on Twitter, CR Escape Games.
We also got a little preview of what's coming up this year for Sinister Pointe, which looks really, really exciting and incredible. Sinister Pointe has said that they are coming back this year with a full-on haunt experience. We've missed their haunts, even though they've been really, really fun exploring other kinds of events and one-room events and escape room type things, scavenger hunts. They've done a lot of experiments, and we've enjoyed all of them. But we're so happy to hear that Sinister Pointe is coming back. And they had a small little booth with a sort of trailer, I guess would be the way to put it, a little mini advertising. And you walked in and you saw a video projection, which basically introduced 4 demons characters.
And there's a reason why there's 4 different characters. The name of this year's haunt is called Fear the Mark. And apparently it's going to be sort of a choose-your-own-adventure, and there are 4 different paths to take. And each path represents a different mark and demon. When we went in, we were told to choose one of the symbols. We chose the symbol, and we went in, and we got branded with that mark. And while we were being branded, the person branding us summoned that character. And so we were able to see that person come onto screen and get a little teaser of who we will encounter. Here's the thing, 4 different paths. Russell, what does that mean for us?
It means we immediately asked Jeff, how do we do it all?
Exactly. So this year they're bringing back an all-night pass. They had this a few years ago, and we did that for one of their Christmas ones.
Yes, we did.
And we got different things each time on that as
well.
Yeah,
that was great.
Yeah, and it was fun, just getting back in line, going over and over again. So I'm really excited that we can see 4 different things in one night. And Russell, we were lucky enough to speak with him as well. And
yes.
You asked him a few questions. So.
And now we are talking to Jeff from Sinister Pointe. Jeff, we're big fans of Sinister Pointe, and you're always trying to do something new and innovative constantly throughout the year. Can you give us a little preview, maybe, of what's coming up for Sinister Pointe this haunt season?
We're getting geared up for our new haunt, and we're really going off of kind of the tradition of what we've done in the past for a lot of our haunted houses. We're going to try to maintain the very interactive aspect of it. We're really trying to push this new kind of idea that we're doing is a kind of choose your own adventure, and we've touched on it before in the past, where there's sometimes little ways that you can go. You might be able to go through a different door, but this is almost 4 mazes in one. Our big thing, it's called Fear the Mark, and we actually have 4 different symbols that represent a completely different style realm. So when you actually step into our attraction, you're going to be branded with a symbol, and that symbol is going to be your path for the attraction. So you will travel through this path, which each symbol represents a completely, like I said, it's just a completely different realm. One is Tormentum, one is Rebus, Arcane, and gosh, now I can't even think of what the other one is. But the idea is each one has a different theme. We've got Torture, we've got Tricksters and Jesters, kind of a thing. So like I said, everyone represents a different realm, and you'll get chosen that path, and you get to go down that path. And then we will sell like an all-night path, so people can go, come back and keep going through it again and again to actually experience all 4 realms.
I was about to say that because Mike and I are the kind of people who we want to do all 4 paths.
Right, of course. Everyone's going to want to. So that's the plan. 4 different paths, and you can go through them, as many times as you want with an all-night pass and experience all the different ones. And we are doing this in a time slot kind of thing instead of, that way people don't have to line up and there's a 4-hour wait. We are selling, our tickets are going to be sold in time slots this year. So you'll buy, we'll have X amount of tickets available for a 7 to 8 or 8 to 9, 9 to 10 and such. So nobody will ever wait more than an hour if it's max capacity or sold out.
Oh, excellent. Because always crowd flow is a concern with haunts.
Right.
We travel down to you every year, and it sounds like you touched a little bit on this premise in Beyond the Mirror, but this sounds so much more extreme than the choices you had to make in that haunt affected certain things, but the 4 different paths is extremely ambitious.
Yeah, we're trying to be as ambitious as we can. We have about 15,000 square feet of space to work with, so even on that is a little tight for 4, mazes. So there might be some, areas where, you might have some tight corridors and crawl through things and such. So we'll see what we can pull off in the amount of space we have.
All of that sounds great. Location-wise, do you know where will you be?
We're kind of keeping that on the down low at the moment, but we will be in the same area. We'll be in Orange County. We'll be near where we have always been.
Great.
in
I
Brea.
was thinking you'd have a larger floor print, so I was wondering if you were moving out of that main area.
Yeah, we're just staying in the area, but just in a bigger space.
Oh, excellent. Please, for people who are looking for more information, you have a main website.
Yeah, our website is sinisterpointe.com. You can go to that and see everything that this has to represent. We are releasing facts about we're kind of keeping it under wraps, but little by little we're revealing more and more about the attraction.
Do you also have a Facebook presence?
Yeah, we have Facebook, and I believe that is also Facebook /Sinister Pointe. Same thing with Instagram. I think everything is right there.
Excellent. And, of course, some people may not be aware of Curiosities.
Yeah, Curiosities is kind of this real little boutique-y kind of hidden fun gem of ours that I just like to play with.
Yeah, and you offer for sale some things that some people may not even realize that they have to have.
Very true. Yeah, we do. We have some weird things in there, so it's a fun little store.
It's a great place to visit if you're in the neighborhood. Please give the address of that.
Yeah, the address is 797 West Imperial Highway, and that's in Brea, California. And you could go to curiositiesbrea.com and
Right,
see
excellent.
more of that.
Right. Thank you so much for speaking to us today. I know you're busy with all of the Midsummer Scream stuff. Thanks for taking some time.
No, thank you.
Right. See you this Halloween.
Thank you to Jeff for speaking with us. We really appreciate it. And if you'd like to learn more about Sinister Pointe, go to their website at sinisterpointe.com, at Facebook, Sinister Pointe. And I'd like to point out Sinister Pointe, all one word, and it's spelled Pointe. So Facebook, Sinister Pointe. On Instagram, it's Sinister Pointe. And on Twitter, it is Sinister Pointe.
A couple podcasts ago, we had reviewed an escape room we had done called The Ripper, and that was part of the 13th Room out in Pomona, and we loved it. Luckily, they were there, and they had a mini escape room. Well, I wouldn't call it an escape room.
No, it was not a room.
We were out in the open in a cemetery, and there was a coffin, there were tombstones, there was all sorts of creepy, fun goodness in there.
Yeah, it was really fun, and I thought it was very clever that they staged this in a way that literally people just walking through the convention could stop and watch you trying to figure out an escape room.
And from a marketing standpoint, genius.
Oh, yeah.
Because
everybody wanted to do it.
Yeah, and all the other escape rooms were just that. You were trapped in a room, you couldn't see what was going on, and so it's like, oh, what's that? Oh, it's an escape room. Oh, cool, keep walking. But here, you see people frantically throwing dirt around and trying to break into a coffin, and it just got them a little bit more excited and curious to be like, well, what is this? And the thing is, too, everything was free at Midsummer Scream. So they could, they didn't have to spend $30 to try something out. So if they wanted to get a taste and they liked it, then they can go back.
And I would like to say that this little adventure was actually only 9 minutes, and we did get out.
We escaped with like 10 seconds left.
Yeah, it was very, very close.
Because of that one clue.
And again, it's the classic of, and they kept... they realized how close we were, and so he said, like, read the clue again, look at the clue. What does it say? Say it out loud. And finally we figured out that we just were interpreting one word incorrectly.
Yeah. We learned at the 13th Room mini escape room that it was okay to not stay in the confines of where you think you're supposed to stay.
Yes. It literally told us that we had to get outside the box.
Right. And just because of the way we think, and because, it goes back to being in a room.
Yes.
We can never do that because the whole point is to get out of the room. So how can a clue tell us to leave to find another clue?
Yeah, very, very clever. Very clever.
And we were able to speak with Eddie, the owner of the 13th Room, and he told us about the 13th Room's plans coming up. And man, I'm so excited.
Yeah, this is a company to watch in the escape room area around Los Angeles. He's down in Pomona. We'll talk more about the location in the interview, but the location of the 13th Room escape room, what he's got planned, what he's got on the horizon, what he's going to try to attempt to do in the future. This is an interesting interview, and we were so lucky for Eddie to sit down and talk with us.
So here's our interview with Eddie from the 13th Room.
Here at Midsummer Scream, you were on a panel concerning escape rooms. You were covering the 13th Room. Tell us exactly the location and how people can find your information about that, first of all.
Okay, so our web address is 13throom.com, That's 13throom.com. We're in downtown Pomona at a hotel that was built in 1915 originally as the Avis Hotel, and now it's the Mayfair Hotel. It became the Mayfair in 1938. So yeah, we've got the nice old vintage hotel with some real paranormal backstories, which makes it pretty unique.
It sounds like an awesome location. Mike and I became familiar with you because of the Ripper escape room,
Awesome.
which we talked about on a recent podcast. So could you talk about the development of that?
Yeah, so, I've been in London several times, and I've had somewhat of a fascination with the Ripper in its that, he was never caught, and the mystery behind it. And I was walking, it was raining in Pomona, and I was walking in the art district down there, leaving the 13th room, and I'm like, wow, this kind of reminds me of Whitechapel, which is the part of London where he did all the murders. And I'm like, I think I'm going to do a Ripper escape room with dinner. And I started writing it. I was having problems writing it, and in January of this year, my brother goes, hey, why don't you just go to London? So I booked a plane trip the next day, flew to London by myself, walked around Whitechapel, pouring rain, middle of the night, went to 10 Bells, and I just started getting some inspiration. I actually did a tour too. That didn't do so much for me, but it was just walking around and immersing myself down there, and then the rest is history. Came together.
We don't want to spoil the beginning, but after dinner you actually have to go on a little bit of a walking journey. It sounds like that trip was the inspiration for the opening.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, so many times when you do an escape room, or you're always stuck in one spot. And then when you do a scavenger hunt, you're all over the place. I said, how can I combine some movement and also, make it part of the challenge? So yeah, when you do leave your dinner, you have to find the right location, right, or destination without giving up too much.
So how many groups do you find have a severe difficulty with that task?
That puzzle is pretty funny, right? I would say 50%.
Really, that high?
Yeah, we've had, when I used to work it a lot. We'd have groups go to the 2 wrong locations, because obviously there's 3 locations. That's all you're getting to know. And they would go to the opposite 2. But, it took off some time, a little bit of time, but they still enjoyed it,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We were at the dinner, and we were talking about how unique the beginning was. We were, like, even before we actually got into the full-on escape room, we were enjoying ourselves with the cleverness of it.
Yeah.
And the interior of the room, we had a blast with that room.
Great.
And it's not necessarily a very technical room when you compare it to other escape rooms.
Right.
But the thing that we really enjoyed about it was the level of intricacy of all of the ciphers, of all of the puzzles and everything. At the end, one of the praises that we gave you was that they were all period accurate, or we were given the history of them.
Right.
So how much research have you done about that, and is that also something that occurs in the 13th room?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So I love tech just like everybody else. And, there's a lot of talk about rooms being lock and key. If you're really in a 1938 building, there was no tech like that. So you can put the tech in there and pretend it's magic, if you would, or it's supernatural, as far as mysterious things opening. When I did the Ripper, I did research a lot about the Rosicrucians, the Knights Templar. I've already known a lot about them through my reading, and there was talk, and there still are conspiracy theories that Jack the Ripper might have been from a Knights Templar society, or Rosicrucians, or a descendant. So I thought, why don't I combine some of these type of elements into the room, and at the same time have a couple cool little tech things. Make it not so much about, not make it so gory, but make it more of a, I don't know if I want to give this up, but what the mission is really all about.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, again, don't want to give too much up, but there are a couple of really fun reveals. And you were talking about the trip to London that you took. It may not have provided the direct inspiration that you referred to, but I think one thing that it obviously shows up in the room is you're going on a quest. And, you know, you walking around that area in London, I'm sure, influenced the goal of that quest.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the task that you have to hopefully successfully obtain and complete.
Yes.
Because a life hangs in the balance.
That's right.
That's the setup.
That's right.
So, you know, and that's one of the wonderful immersive aspects of it, is you are actually dealing with a task that has consequences.
And it's nice if people care about those consequences, because I find, though,
we did,
which I like, because you find some people are extremely jaded, or they don't care. Yes, okay. So in writing that part, there was some struggles for me, because I had seen a few groups come through and they're having a great time, but it's all kind of a play. It's nice if you can really immerse yourself in what's the word I'm looking for, really? You get it. What you just said is right. Mm-hmm. I want people to really take that conclusion, or that what the mission's all about, seriously.
Well, this is your clue system for this room involves a character,
right,
which we have encountered before in other rooms, and we actually like that. We like the interaction of having a character, and there is a point in your room where concern has to be expressed,
right,
and I think that's what you're hinting at, probably.
Yeah.
And we did.
Yeah.
We expressed concern.
Yeah.
One of the things, and this is just feedback that I love, and I hope this happens with all of your rooms, but after we didn't escape the Ripper room, the Game Master gave us a history lesson on the ciphers, on other things within the room, and I thought that was so awesome, because everything it fell into that time period, and just like hearing about it, and he did such a good job telling us about, and this was because of this and because of that, and George Washington used this. Like, there's so many intricate details, and I want you to know that things like that do not go unnoticed, and it's such an extra special thing that we get at the end.
Great, I appreciate that. Yeah, Zeke, he does a phenomenal job about that, and for us, that was really important, especially with the Ripper, especially. And it's funny now, because I will write a puzzle or develop a puzzle, and sometimes I'll give him a little backstory on it. He'll go home and he'll research that. Then he'll come back, and I think it's kind of a little game we have. He might try to one-up me. He goes, by the way, you know that the Rosicrucians did this, and that, and that. And oh, and you had this. Did you know that this sect... Thanks, Zeke. Yes. Yeah, no, that's it's important for us. I like to give a history of the puzzles, and you'll get the same type thing in the 13th room when you come through.
So tell us more about the 13th room.
So 13th room is it's basically you check into the hotel, you get a backstory about the hotel, and one of the mysteries that happened in the 13th room. Basically, they found a ventriloquist. He performed at the Fox Theater across the street the night before, and then the next day they found him hanged in his room. So you try to uncover what happened and the mystery behind that, and ultimately, get out of the 13th room. So
excellent. It's something that Mike and I definitely will be coming down to do for sure.
Oh, yes.
So we've only done the Ripper so far, and there's already two different aspects that no other escape rooms have that we absolutely love. One, Russell had already mentioned, is finding the actual location of the escape room and then having dinner. When you came up with that, was it tough to go to different bars and restaurants, be like, this is my idea, this is what I want to do, will you sign on?
That question, you just gave me goosebumps, because I was going to bring that up. Okay, I'm a hard ass when it comes to business and doing things right. And my customer service and my customer experience is the most important thing to me. I work with the chef there, and I made him cook me the same dishes that we presented on the menu 5 different times, and I explained to the owner, I'm going to pop in at various times and I'm going to order those dishes. And I want there to be consistency on all the dishes. And sure enough, they nailed it. I don't know if you had the chicken fettuccine Alfredo, but it's probably one of the best I've ever had. So if there was something on the menu that we didn't like, we took it off. I didn't want typical pub food. I wanted a real good menu, and I wanted to be consistent. Because so many times, I mean, you think about it, you go to this restaurant, that restaurant, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, the service is bad. I mean, we've had kinks we've got to work out, but we've been maintaining a high level of consistency with the food and service. So that was important to me. There is another couple restaurants in the area and pubs that I did originally talked to and tasted their food, and it wasn't cutting it. So I was like, there's no way I am going to have a bad food experience define my experience, overall experience for my customer.
Another aspect of the dinner that we had mentioned that's absolutely, can't think of the right word, but it works so well because you get to know strangers that you're playing with. Like you were talking about on the panel, buying out a room and
Right.
getting put with strangers and things like that. We got put with strangers that had never done an escape room before, but it didn't matter once we got to the escape room because we were all friends at that point.
Absolutely. That was something I wanted to bring up yesterday because there's kind of this there's this thing resonating among escape room owners and enthusiasts about playing with other people. I'm probably the biggest proponent of playing with strangers, if you want to call them. I don't like that term randoms either. So I don't think you're going to hear that coming out of me from my mouth, because every day that you step outside, you're forced to have some type of social interaction with other people that you don't know, whether you go to a restaurant or you buy something or this or that. And that's the beauty about human nature, right? So I thought exactly what you just said. If there is a meet and greet or hors d'oeuvres or a type of dinner so the group can get to know each other, put that guard down, if you will, take off that suit of armor that you leave every day with, then they would be able to go to the room and hopefully, not only have a great time and solve the room, but maybe develop some new friendships. So,
Do you have any other tricks up your sleeve as far as like non-traditional escape room things like that? Yeah.
So I would like to let a trick out, but I'm afraid if I do, other people are going to jump on it. But then again, I will just tell you this, that we will have a very, very nice escape challenge coming up that probably is going to take about anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. And it's going to be a destination type escape room with fantastic food, all of that story. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm thinking November, December for this one, and that one is going to be unique in that it's going to I'm not going to get 10,000 people because it's going to be a little bit more expensive, right? Because of how long it entails and everything, but it's going to be fascinating. And I think the final thing that's in the books for us right now is I was a big fan of Indiana Jones and that type of thing, and I want to have a truly think escape room / obstacle race / immersive haunted experience. So, can everybody come and do it? There might be some aspects where you're running down a cobblestone and there's a trampoline mechanism you got to jump on and trigger something. There might be indoor zip lining and stuff and escape and all that. So that's where I'm moving right now. I'm moving that into that direction. And ultimately, we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons. How bitchin' would it be if you got to go into a cave that was completely immersive and it was an escape experience based on something like that? Yeah.
And you said it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but people will pay for an experience like that.
I think so. I want to make it so people remember it. Do you guys know Bob?
Yeah.
Globerman?
Bob Globerman, Behind the Virus escape room.
I was in Cancun 3 weeks ago, and Bob was nice enough he messaged us and said, hey, I'm doing an amazing race in Cozumel. Would you guys like to come? So we got a ferry to Cozumel from Cancun, and we did Bob's race. And I'll tell you what, it was pouring rain on us. One time we got on a boat and I had to jump off the boat and I had to dive in the water, and I had a few beers and I had to find this sunken ship. And I tell you, we are still talking about it. We had a great time, and it was one of those experiences that you remember for a long time, and that's what's important for me, and so I think that's what's important for our customers as well, and that's what we want to create.
You mentioned a new room that you're planning at the panel yesterday. And can you tell us more about that and when we can expect to see that?
Yeah, so this, I wanted to do a room that would debut close to Halloween that is on a level 1 to 5 absolutely scary. I'm into that. So it's going to be based on an exorcism that was performed in that hotel. I believe it was performed in 1938, and we are going to recreate that. So it's going to be a seance style, and with the escape elements, and it's going to be for groups of 8. For groups of 6 to 8, and we're going to allow mixed groups for that too, because what's interesting is how we're going to do this is that you're going to go to O'Donovan's pub first. You show up 30 to 40 minutes early and you're going to be seated. Now you'll have the option to order special appetizers that are made just for this, or cocktail if you want. Sit with your group, and you're going to get a backstory of Father William and the exorcisms that he's done before you get taken to the hotel room. Yes. Well, you guys will be there at the grand opening, so. Yes.
So definitely looking forward to that room. When we did the Ripper room, there was a mention of a possible paranormal-oriented escape room. Could you tell us a little bit about that, and if you have a date when we might be able to looking forward to that?
Well, we have the spot right now, and I want to try to get everything done right and built out properly, so and not cut any corners. But that's supposed to debut on October 1st. It's a small group haunt with escape elements. So there might be 4 to 6 linear style escape elements, but it's also a paranormal experience at the same time. Yeah. So there's a lot on the table right now. I would say our priority right now is going to be the new room, with the exorcism and the seance, and then the paranormal project.
So where can people find out more information?
Okay, so they can find us on the web at 13throom.com. That would be 13throom.com. On Facebook, we're at Facebook 13th Room. Instagram, we're at the 13th Room. And I think that's it. Do you have a Twitter? No, I don't tweet too much because the spirits don't allow us to. But maybe we will. I wanted to add one more thing I forgot to say.
Sure.
I am petitioning to the a lot of the council of Pomona, for downtown Pomona, to for this Halloween, for it to become Halloween City, the Halloween City, California, if you will. And if I can get this pulled off, we're going to have 4 to 5 experiences going on for the whole month of October down there. That would be 3 escape rooms, which are ours, our paranormal project, and an interesting tour style thing, which another group would do. But yeah,
well, that would be awesome. Well, good luck with that, and please keep us posted on those details.
Fantastic. Thank you.
So again, thanks to Eddie for speaking with us. He was very busy that day rounding up people for the escape area and shepherding that. We recommend you check out the 13th Room, and we also highly recommend the Ripper Experience, which we talked about on an earlier podcast. Please go out and check out his stuff.
Leave your Los Angeles bubble, people.
Yeah, it's worth the drive.
The next thing we did was called Devoted Always. This was put on by the Shine On Collective. And the Shine On Collective is something we had spoken about a couple podcasts ago when we were talking about the Fringe Festival.
Yes.
They had done The Truth that Russell had worked on a little bit with them.
Yeah, I did help them out with some behind-the-scenes stuff on The Truth.
So they are a new immersive theater experience company. And so far, I mean, I love what they're doing. And if you're into immersive theater, you definitely need to check them out. What they had at Scare LA was probably 5-minute or so immersive experience, and it was a one-on-one thing, and you had to sign up at their booth and then come back at a certain time. And it was called Devoted, and what I found out later is Devoted is the name of the series. So what happened at Midsummer Scream was called Devoted Always, And then this weekend at Scare LA is going to be Devoted Together. And then in September, by invite only, is going to be Devoted Forever. And then in October will be Devoted, Just Devoted. And the first part of this was basically the beginning of a love story. And you met a girl who was hurt emotionally and physically by someone. And that someone is up to your interpretation.
I talked to several people who did this over the course of the weekend, and I think in the middle of Midsummer Scream, when and Mike and I already talked about the excitement of getting out of a straitjacket, or the excitement of doing an escape room out in public, and we're going to talk about a couple more mini escape experiences, the VR stuff, they did have an area of mini haunts. In the middle of all of that, Devoted always was this really quiet, intimate, very, very intense little 5-minute scene with this actress. So I think that's what affected people the most is just in the middle of it. This was a complete change of pace. And it was definitely, you just stepped behind a curtain and met this woman, and she immediately began talking to you and telling her story. And it was very effective.
And especially just from exactly what you said, all the screams, all the clown noises, all the buzzers, all the fog.
The car horn that kept annoying everyone on the floor.
Sorry. Going here and having no sensory overload and having this one-on-one time, it seemed like even though those noises were there and you could still hear them, it was like they didn't exist.
Oh yeah, she was whispering at one point and like whispering in my ear and telling me things. It was awesome. It was very, very, very touching.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those feelings type things that just makes you kind of want to cry and kind of feel horrible about yourself, and it makes you think about the relationships that you have.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I feel I had a very similar vibe to Apartment 8, which we talked about at the Fringe Festival as well, where there was a girl that was also hurt, but Apartment 8, you were the one that killed her, but in here, the way I took it was you were saving this girl from another relationship, from an abusive relationship.
I wasn't sure if that was it or if we were simply witnessing something that was going to be continued.
Well, that's what's great. Everyone
I had a slightly different interpretation, but
and also we all got different letters from her.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either until today. Yeah, so at the end, she gives you a letter with your name on it, or she gives you an envelope with your name on it, and inside is a letter. And from speaking to other people, it sounds like they're all different.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's a very nice touch.
Yeah, we'll talk later, and I'll tell you about my letter.
All right. I might share mine with you.
No, then I won't share mine with you then.
Okay.
If you want to be like that.
She wrote it to me.
Yeah, but Kara wrote in blood C+M heart on me.
All right. Well, she wrote the C+R on me. Huh. Yeah, she did write on us in blood at one point. But, I mean, intimately and very touchingly.
Plus, it's a Halloween horror convention, so of course it's got to be written in blood.
It worked.
So definitely keep an eye on the Shine On Collective. So far, like I said, they're 2 for 2. I love what they've done so far. And you can find more information on them at shineoncollective.com, on Facebook, The Shine On Collective, and on Twitter, Shine On Shows. Another immersive experience that we did is Bardo Thodol, and that's part of Screenshot Productions. Screenshot Productions in the past did Fear Is What We Learned Here and also Partuition, which we had both talked about on the podcast previously.
Now, Bardo Thodol is the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the title for the show as well. It's an immersive experience taking you through your own death and soul's judgment in the afterlife. And it is also a multi-act experience. That's the description on Screenshot Productions' website. Act 1 was featured exclusively at Midsummer Scream, and we were lucky enough to partake of that.
This was one of the highlights of the entire weekend for me.
Yeah, it's up there for me as well.
And you can, it's really interesting and amazing to see how word of mouth gets around.
Yes.
Because when in the beginning of Saturday morning, there was a couple people in line, because this was not something you could sign up for. It was first come, first serve. So you just have to get in line and wait. And every time we would walk past, there'd be a longer line and a longer line. And then by the end of Sunday, it was so long. Like, we wanted to do it again on Sunday, but, you know, number one, we didn't want to be greedy. We wanted to let other people get their chance. And number two, the line was so long.
Yeah, I think there was at one point like 30 or 40 people when I walked by at one point. I'm really curious, Mike, because this is one of those situations where someone involved in the show we have encountered before through other haunts. And I would like to know what your experience was like, Mike, because I don't know how much I want to say. But, you know, for me, in the middle of the show, somebody came up and whispered something very personalized to me, which surprised me. But it completely didn't surprise me when I realized, like, oh, wait, like, this makes sense that they know who I am and that they would say that particular thing to me. So, you know, and to begin the show, you're asked to take off your shocks. You're asked to take off your socks and shoes, and that's sort of key at one point in the show, I feel. And you enter the dark, and a voice, you know, someone comes up behind you and basically holds you up on the sides. They put their arms on your shoulders, basically, and begins to ask you to think about, you know, are you happy with your life? And if you died today, would you be satisfied? Are you ready for that? Because it can happen unexpectedly. How are you? And if you think about it, like, are you satisfied with where you are in this moment? And they just want you to think and ponder that thought.
And so being alone in the dark with those thoughts, that's scary enough. Because as much as you like to think, oh yeah, life is good, like, you know, I'm happy, like, I don't care. When you actually are alone in the dark and thinking about that stuff, you think about so many things. It's like, oh crap, I wish I went to Egypt, or I wish I saw a pyramid, or I wish I went to Canada in a mountain, or, you know, stuff like that. There's always something else. And if you did die today, you would be missing out on all of that stuff.
True.
So that's your mindset at the start of this. Like, that's 30 seconds into the show, you're already at that point.
Right.
And also, when you walk in, you were blindfolded. So you have this voice asking you all of these questions and telling you these things with the blindfold on. And then you are forced to walk briskly / run, depending on how brave you are, to run in the dark. And we've mentioned this on other podcasts.
Oh, yes.
Like, just because of the things that we do, it's just like, oh, sure, I trust you. Vroom.
Yep, I did the same thing.
And that will come into play later.
Yes.
With Alone.
So at one point you are stopped, and the same voice came forward for me at this point, Mike, and said, I asked you a question. Being the question being, you know, are you satisfied with where you are? And if you died today, you know, would there be regrets? Would there be mourning? When that question came, I said I was not satisfied, and he asked me why. And I basically said that there were passions I were not pursuing. You know, I guess I'll leave it at that. And the response that came basically challenged, well, no. I will take that back. He acknowledged me he said, well, look, you know, like, you know, looking in from the outside, Russell, because this is someone who is aware of who I am. You know, he said, it looks like you are. It looks like you're like you are pursuing those. And I named very specifically one thing where there is dissatisfaction in my life. And he was very kind and leaning forward and whispering in my ear, I'm not going to say the exact words, but he basically challenged me to think outside the box on my own life. And that was a very meaningful and very hard-hitting moment. And I thank them for it. I thank everyone on this crew for it. But yeah, that was what I meant by a personalized moment.
See, I don't remember getting asked a question at that point, because I don't remember talking.
Do you remember anything about that area of the show?
I don't actually. The next thing I remember after running is being laid down. And then I did remember a voice, but I felt like more that was maybe a speaker or it was pre-recorded.
Oh, that's interesting. I felt the same way about that. Yeah.
So I heard that, and then that's when my death started. And at that point, I was dying. And you are laid on a tarp, and then I believe it's a bunch of doctors that lift you up and put you on a table. They put an oxygen mask on you, and they have the doctors with like the doctor headlamps, like looking down at you, walking away and shaking their heads. And then you had someone that was your loved one come and hold your shoulder, hold your hand, and start crying to you, saying like, it's too soon. You can't go. You can't go. And then all of a sudden you just hear a beep, and that's when you're dead. And what happens at that point is, I guess, what would happen sped up if you actually died.
True. You are then lifted one more time, and you are carried several feet in the darkness, and you lay down on the ground, and a piece of plastic is put over you.
And you think at that point, that's it. You're dead. The plastic sheet is over you. You're probably at the morgue at this point, waiting to get autopsied or something like that. But no, you are actually 6 feet under in an empty grave, because at that point, you start getting buried, literally. There are shovels, and there are shovels of dirt being put on you.
You hear the scraping noises. You hear the dirt being gathered.
Mm-hmm. And I want to preface this by saying they did this all very safely.
Absolutely.
They put some on your face, but not enough to suffocate you, and it wasn't enough impact to hurt you in any way. It was very light. So when they did do the face, it wasn't the same amount of dirt that they would put on your legs or your stomach or anything like that. But you were being buried alive. Well, technically you're buried alive, but for the purposes of this immersive experience, you were dead at that point, and you were being buried.
It was highly disturbing, but also very thought-provoking at the same time.
Yeah, and that burial came out of nowhere. And I think that's what made the show for me, because when that started happening, even though it was happening, in my mind, I was like, there's no way they're doing this. There is no way they're doing this at a preview of a show at a convention with this many people here. Like, there's no way. And then they kept doing it. And we were there for...
They left you there for a while.
Yeah, it wasn't just like a scoopful of dirt. Okay, that's it. Next. You were actually there for a while. There were many, many shovelfuls of dirt being put on me.
Yeah, and actually you really felt the weight on your legs. You really felt being covered by earth. It was very interesting, and they leave you there long enough not to torture you, but literally just to make you think.
Yeah.
And it was very effective. It was a very, very effective moment. And eventually they come and they pull the plastic away, and that's the end of the show. But, that ending was so... It's weird because, like Mike, you and I have done Extreme Haunts. We have been in a situation where we have had a lot of pressure on our bodies. We have, felt very claustrophobic, very smothering things in various other shows. This was so gentle, and so it crept up on you. Mm-hmm. So you had a lot of time to think before the dirt, started to cover your face.
Which could be a bad thing for some people.
It apparently was, because they did have people get out of the experience.
Right.
It's like there was someone in the room. I don't think he even made it that far, to be totally honest. But there was someone in the room, and I heard the conversation where somebody said, "Are you okay?" And I heard someone reply near the end of my show, "I just needed to get out of here." So I know that they were having some people who couldn't take the intimacy and the thought process of what was going on in the show, and it seems like they were handling that extremely well. The whole show was handled very, very well. This was a very moving piece of theater for me.
Yeah. And in contrast to the person that needed to get out, when the dirt started coming, I don't know if they could see me because, number one, it was dark, and number two, there was plastic over me. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I had that smile that you talked about during the Blackout VR experience on my face.
That doesn't surprise me. And
because you know why.
Yes.
You know something was my favorite part.
Yes, we've encountered...
Yeah, that's enough. That's all we need to say.
Yeah. So, and all right, my confession of that moment, they started mirroring, and when I started to feel how much weight they were putting on my legs, and like, wow, they're really doing this, and there was a part of me going, do the face, do the face, do the face. Like, because I wanted the intensity. I wanted, like, if you're going to take me there thought-wise, I wanted them to take me there physically, and they did.
I feel like that's going to be Morgan's new ringtone.
So, but yeah, I really did have that moment of like, oh, I hope the thought was, I hope they don't pull the punch.
Right.
I hope they don't wimp out and not go all the way. And they did. They actually covered my face. And we have to, you have to understand, if you're listening to this and you really think that this is a far out experience, it was done safely. You did have plastic between you and the earth. You could breathe, but it was very, very claustrophobic, and it felt to some degree that you were suffocating. And the air quality that you're breathing in changes, obviously, when you do that.
And you know, if you listen to our podcast, you know that Russell is the crazy safety guy.
Oh, yeah.
So if he's giving it the A-OK, you know it's good.
Well, thank you for that recommendation, Mike. I am safety nerd.
Yeah. If this sounded interesting to you, tickets are on sale for parts 2 through 4 at this point. 2 through 4, they are all happening at once. It's one ticket for all 3 experiences, and they all go in a row. What we spoke about was part 1, and you didn't have to go through part 1 to go through 2 through 4. So tickets are on sale now, and you can find those tickets now at screenshot.productions. There's no .com. It's screenshot.productions. On Instagram, screenshot.productions. And on Twitter, screenshot art. Now, we just told you everything that happened. Those are spoilers. But we're telling you after, and we got the okay from Screenshot to tell you the spoilers. We're going to tell you about something that happened to our friend that ruins it for everybody. Don't be this person. Do not spoil a show when the show is still going on. And this is very important, especially going into haunt season. So what happened? Our friend Jake was next in line to go through this. He had his blindfold on and ready. And then all of a sudden, someone comes up to the front of the line and asks, "Is this the show where you get buried?" And Jake is like us. He loves not knowing what he's about to encounter. And that person took away the biggest surprise of the show for him.
Of the entire convention.
Yeah. And he was so bummed about it. And I'm not saying it ruined his experience because he did enjoy the show, but it left him with no surprises. And that's just sucks. Like, if that happened to one of us, we'd probably be in the back of a police car like, "What are you doing?" and start swinging or something.
Oh.
But so this is just a PSA. Please do not spoil things that are still going on, whether it be movies, whether it be at a convention and you know something, whether it be escape rooms that you escaped from, whether it be a haunt, whether it be theater, anything. Just don't be that guy, please, or girl. There's equal opportunity spoilers, I guess. Spoilage.
Definitely. I was sad when I heard about that. And actually, right next door to the show we just described, in the room next door, literally, Zombie Joe's Underground Theater had a special Midsummer Scream convention version of Urban Death. You've heard us talk about Zombie Joe's Underground Theater. You know we love them. This was a very special Urban Death, which was created for the convention. Some of it were pieces that Mike, I'm sure you recognized like I did. Mike and I did not attend the same show. And some of them were brand new. Mm-hmm. I was a little surprised that they really went for the dark, dark material.
This was the first 18 and over show for a convention.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah, because there was definitely a lot of nudity. There was a lot of very violent imagery. And there were a couple of really new, wonderful moments that I had not experienced before. One involving a bunny.
That was great.
It's, all of this weird horror imagery, and then a bunny shows up, and it's a very macabre, deviant, disturbed bunny. And I got to admit, I love that. That's one of the reasons, and the reason I'm going to that is it's one of the reasons I love Urban Death is you will always be surprised by something that they do. It was so twisted.
My favorite scene involved, because we just talked about spoilers, and I don't want to say just in case they do this for October, but it involved two people in chocolate syrup.
Really?
That was amazing to me.
It was an amazing sequence, but no, not my favorite scene.
Because that had everything you could hope for in an Urban Death scene. It had just really messed up things happening.
Yes.
And then it had dark humor at the end of it.
Yes.
It had an emotional thing because what you hear in the beginning,
Yes.
it was, in my opinion, the perfect Urban Death scene.
Wow. Okay. All right. It was a little dark for my taste, I must admit.
Too dark for you?
It was a little dark for my taste.
What?
Yeah, it was. That was one of the ones that were like, ooh, we're going there. Ooh.
It was fantastic.
Okay. All right. And even though I'm saying that about this particular scene, congrats to a truly fearless cast.
Yes.
Like,
And fearless even more so because we always give our congratulations to the cast for the shows that they do at Zombie Joe's.
yes.
And for the being so brave and exposing themselves like that, literally and metaphorically. But when you go to Zombie Joe's, you know what you're in for.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a specific crowd that expects something. When you do something like this at a convention that's free, you have a lot of people that have no idea what they're getting into. You have people that don't realize they shouldn't be talking and saying, "Oh, what the heck? What's this? Oh, this is messed up, man." They don't understand they shouldn't be talking. And,
Did you have some of that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's interesting because my show, the audience was well behaved, but there was one person who I think was a Zombie Joe fan, and every scene they gave this sort of woo, and finally it happened where I think they realized they did that after an extremely violent image ended one of the scenes, and they were like, "What?" And it cut off because I think he realized that no one in the audience, it was such a disturbing image that no one in the audience was reacting.
Yeah, we had a woo guy in ours too.
It was just like, and look, I understand that probably that person is supporting the cast and supporting the show. But also, if you're into the show emotionally, which Mike, you and I are, when in a Zombie Joe show, we do get emotionally involved. And look, people express themselves different way. Some audiences give standing ovations to everything. Other audiences do not. When you have such dark, violent material and it's affecting an audience, to have someone like catcall or do a whoop or something, it's a really odd. It took me out of the show a lot, and there were times when the audience didn't want the darkness broken. They wanted it to resonate. They wanted the disturbing image to resonate. Same thing happened. That at the recent Urban Death show at Zombie Joe's, my favorite image involved one person covered in blood standing on a stage.
Yeah.
And they did a variation of that in the show. They didn't duplicate it exactly. But for that image to appear and then to be met with a woohoo was so disconcerting in a bad way. Rather than this is haunting, it was like, okay, some jerk just broke the mood.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, again, pet peeve, it's like spoilers. Just it's just expressing my opinion on certain jerks in the world.
One thing that was funny that someone did is there was a scene where there was a lot of nudity, and when In between each scene, it goes completely pitch black. And during the pitch black part after that scene, there was someone that said, "Now I know why they had us turn off our cameras," or something like that. And it was
wow.
it was just so breaking everything that everybody, I think, in the room just started laughing.
Oh, wow.
And Urban Death, during October, they do the Tour of Terror. We spoke about this last year and we went through. They're doing that again this year. So there will be a little Halloween maze leading up to Urban Death. And that is happening in October. And it is October 7th through November 5th. There's 5 times a night, 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, and 11:30 p.m. And then there's going to be special times on Halloween. It's going to be Friday and Saturday nights in October. And for more information on Zombie Joe's, you can go to zombiejoes.com, on Facebook at ZJU Theater, on Instagram, Zombie Joe's, and on Twitter, Zombie Joe's. And I just wanted to mention, we had just talked about the Shine On Collective. They actually have a show there for the next couple of weeks called One of Us. And we are going on Friday night, and we will let you know how that is. And if you like what you heard so far about the Shine On Collective, definitely check out One of Us at Zombie Joe's. The next thing that we had done is Alone. And we've talked about Alone many times on the podcast. It's one of the things that we really look forward to and love doing. And for me, this was no different. I love what they do at conventions because it breaks the typical enter here, go here, walk through here, and that's it. They always make you explore and see your surroundings. And that's what I really, really liked about it. And with this, they didn't have a booth, wink, wink, meaning that you didn't go find their booth to start. You had to find someone, and then that someone gave you something to find something else. And then with help of a smartphone, you figured out where to go based on audio clues and music.
So it led you out of the convention, and you had to explore the surrounding area. And there were a couple of times when you encountered people along the way. There was one awesome scare for me, Mike.
I think that got me too.
Oh, yeah, he was very happy because I think he realized. Actually, I've encountered that actor in Alone before, so he knew I was a repeat customer. He was so happy that he got me as good as he did, and I was in a parking garage at the moment that this happened. I screamed so loud that it was one of those echoey things through the parking garage. I was like, oh, I hope no one on the third floor heard that. But yeah, it was an awesome beginning for sure.
So one of the things that this experience relied heavily on is the use of a smartphone, because there were, and I don't want to give too much away because they are having a show this weekend at Scare LA. Even though it's going to be different, I don't want to say just in case they use similar things. But there were audio clues that you had to get on the internet. So if your phone didn't have coverage, or if you had a low battery, you might be missing out on something. But they did state to make sure your phone is fully charged for this. But I know some people, just from being at the show, they couldn't get to it when they did, and their battery life ran low. But one place would lead you to another place. Once you got to that place, it would lead you to another place. And you would encounter certain people. They may or may not have given you things. And the things that they gave you may or may not have been used later on. So let's say you got a piece of paper that looked like gibberish. You would realize later what to do with that piece of paper, and then that piece of paper was your next clue on where to go next.
That was one of my favorite moments, actually.
That was awesome for me, and that took me probably about 4 different walkarounds.
Oh, really?
To go to see what I was supposed to see.
Interesting.
Because I was looking physically at where they said. So I was waiting. Because you know what the clue was.
Well, yeah, we were told to go to a very specific location.
Right. And the location technically was not a location, it was a ride.
Yes, that's true.
So I was looking at those.
Did you ride the ride?
No.
Okay.
But I was trying to see if I could see anything as they were going by. And then when they would pause for people to get on, I would like run around and see like, okay, where is it? Where is it? But finally walking around, I looked up. It's like, oh my God, it's right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then there was some confusion towards the end though. I think a lot of people got confused at this because you encounter someone that has you read a piece of paper, and I guess I assumed he was going to give it to me, so I was reading very slowly and methodically, like, okay, because it was a riddle.
I did the exact same thing, and he literally closed the sheet of paper, and I said, like, wait, I didn't get that.
Right.
And it just so happened I was with someone because we had kind of gathered, even though it's an alone experience, we had met, and I'll describe in a second why, but we ended up going through the end alone, the end of Alone together, and he said, wait, I know what is next. Like, I know what the paper said, but you're not the only person I've heard say that they didn't get that instruction completely because the guy literally was too fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I got the first part, and that's really what I needed at that point.
Right, yes.
So at that point, I was blindfolded, and my situation was different from a couple people's. I basically had to walk backwards.
I did too. Not
Okay.
everyone had to.
And it was a long walk when you're
Yes.
walking backwards and blindfolded.
And you are being guided by something.
Yeah. But this goes back into what we had mentioned about being blindfolded and running in the dark.
Yes.
Like the same thing happened to me. Like I was just like, okay, I'm walking.
Yeah. And we should mention, this is completely out in public.
Right.
In Long Beach, California. You are not in the convention center. You are not in the Midsummer Scream Con. You are elsewhere at this particular moment. So you're out walking when there's tourists walking around. There's a hotel nearby, and I'm sure part of the people were from the hotel. And you're blindfolded, and you are walking backwards using a support system along the walkway.
Right. And
It was awesome.
yeah,
It was absolutely awesome.
because the thing is you're blindfolded, so you don't realize.
Yeah. You just hear the noises.
And so here's the funny thing. When I took off my blindfold at the end, I looked up and I saw people hanging out on the railing, like regular people.
Right, yes.
So I started getting, I started thinking, wait a minute, did I run into them? Was I about to run into them and they moved for me?
I think they did.
do?
I think they did.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was like all those thoughts. I was like, I must have looked like nuts to them.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I'm sure we all did.
So then after that, we weren't done. But I found that out by accident, actually.
And so did I. Because at that point, I don't even know how to get into this conversation. I really don't. At that point, for me, I thought the show was over. You were actually, well, let's just, we can say that at one point, you were supposed to have something written on your hand, apparently. And what happened to me is only part of that clue was written, and it was written on my head, in my bald spot. But the entire clue wasn't. And he wrote, the performer wrote the rest of the clue on other people in my group, except the problem was, it's called Alone.
Right.
We didn't stay together as a group. And I didn't realize, because it was the top of my head, that he had actually written something. I just thought he had touched the top of my head. So I literally, my show ended right there.
Right. And I had something written on, I guess, the back of my neck.
Right.
Which-
And you didn't know that?
No, I remember feeling something, but I didn't think about it because,
Neither did I.
when you're walking
Yeah.
backwards blindfolded in the hot sun, you tend to forget things like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. It's like somebody touched you on the back of the neck. So at that point, a friend of mine was doing a demonstration on a panel, and I looked at the person who was in my group, and I said, look, my friend's just starting a panel, and the last person in our group who apparently had part of our clue was taking so long. Apparently, I guess he was scared of walking backwards or something. He was taking so long. I said, look, this seems to be the end of the show, so I'm going to go support my friend's panel. And so I left. I think 2 hours later, I run into you, and we're talking about Alone, and I come to find out that I missed the climax of the show.
Right.
Which, look, I support Alone. I like Alone. I love the fact that they're so experimental, but I have the worst luck with them. I have had similar experiences to this in multiple shows, and it's frustrating. I was so angry.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, because I was literally like, I was supposed to be going up to a panel in 50 minutes to support another friend, and I find out that I literally didn't get the ending of the show. And somebody said, well, you obviously you didn't get this piece of information. How did you find out?
I didn't even know that, because, well, and I'm sure you'll get into this, but we didn't get the full clue.
Which happened, we found out to multiple people that day.
Right. We only got about half of it.
So what you're saying, Mike, I think is the following day, the people who got something written on their hand got a very specific detail.
Yes, correct.
Which on the first day, they were not writing on people's hands.
Right.
Which led to multiple confusions.
So how I found out about it was I went back to the Alone booth basically to see the Alone girl. That sounds so bad to call her that, but I don't know what else to call her that. But to see her, basically to be like, hey, I found it, because earlier in the day when I first found that booth, I was like, oh, Alone, okay, what do I have to find? And her, of course, playing her part, like, I can't say, I don't, which is typical of Alone, which was like, oh, okay, the hunt is on. I need to find someone.
Can you say how you eventually found that person?
I walked outside.
And you just noticed them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's exactly what I did. I noticed something that they were wearing that indicated that they were with Alone.
Right.
That's what I noticed.
So I went back to her just to basically be like, hey, I did it. Thank you. Like, I'm done. And she's like, and earlier in the day when I first encountered her, based on what happened last year at Scare LA, what you had to do.
Yes.
I thought something was fishy, and that's another reason I went back. Because I was like, wait a minute, this looks kind of similar to something I'd seen them do before. So I wonder if there's something else. So when I went back, and so she was like, congratulations, you found her. And then she ushered me to the next part of the show.
You had such a better experience than I did.
Yeah, you texted me saying that people were thinking they needed to go to a hotel room.
Oh, well, what I did is like when you and of course, Mike being Mike, refused to help me figure out what was going on.
Here's the thing. We talked about this before the podcast. And
yes. I didn't ask you specific enough questions.
Right. Because saying like, blah, 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 like no one is going to understand that.
Yeah. No, I was so angry because, like I said, I have had some really bad luck with Alone shows in the past. Last year, I had to miss a panel because a performer in last year's show at Scare LA gave me or refused to give me information she was supposed to give me. I was instructed to give her something, and the actress didn't know what I was like literally, I gave her what I was supposed to give her, and she said, why are you giving this to me?
Right.
So as a result, there was just all this confusion about how to correctly do the Alone show last year. And so here I am this year in the middle of the Alone show, and I find out that I literally didn't get a piece of information. And someone you were standing with, Max, said, oh, well, like you need this piece of information. I said, what piece of information? And he looked at me because he knew that it was supposed to be written on me. And he said, you don't have it.
Right. But another thing, too, because we did it Saturday and we didn't get that extra piece that people on Sunday got.
Yes.
Even if you could, because I turned around so you could see whatever I had, that wouldn't have helped, I don't think.
Well, no, eventually it would have because somebody did figure it out when I was but
I mean at that very moment.
At that very moment, no, it wouldn't have helped.
Right.
So what I did is I went back to the point in the show where I knew that something had gone wrong. And the performer was dealing with other patrons, and I didn't want to interrupt his performance. So I went back to the point where I ended, and two other people ended, took their blindfolds off, and they looked at me and said, what do we do now? And I said, well, look, I was in the show a couple of hours ago. I just found out that I apparently never finished. I'd like to join you, if you don't mind, in helping you try to figure this out. Basically, you were told that at one particular point your hand would point to where you needed to go next. Well, since I was walking backwards at that point, my right hand pointed down some stairs, or actually pointed over a railing downstairs to a lower lobby area in front of a hotel. So the two women I met, we went down there, and we were looking around, trying to figure out, because there were similar clues. We thought we were looking for something we'd already encountered in the show or similar clues. We went looking around. 2 other people joined us. And then 3 other people joined us. So there was, at one point, Mike, 9 people down there trying to figure out the ending of the show.
Wow.
Based on what I learned later was a piece of information we were not given the complete information. So I'm literally missing a panel. I am literally like I am at this point so aggravated, and the other people are really, really frustrated. 2 of the people say, well, obviously they gave us this information in front of a hotel. We need to go knocking on the hotel room door of the numbers that we do know that we haven't used in the show yet. And I immediately, being the immersive haunt guy, was like, I don't think they'd want you knocking on random hotel room doors. That doesn't sound like a good idea to me. And 2 people went wandering off to ask someone in the hotel lobby. The rest of us, 2 people concentrated on the area. For those of you who don't know, Alone's symbol is basically a triangle. Well, there were trees planted in a triangle-shaped curb right where your hand points, which is right in front of a queue of taxi cabs for the hotel. So a couple people broke off and literally started talking to the taxi cab drivers because they figured one of those was a plant for the show. All right, finally someone opened up the Midsummer Scream program and put together the clue with something in the program. And I said, okay, that's the most logical idea any of us have had. And that's what led me to get to the end of the show. But by the time I get to the end of the show in the booth, there were 5 people in front of me. I had started the show at this point 3 hours earlier. I was furious, I must admit, at that point. Because they had taken me basically out of the convention for almost a full hour, and now I'm missing panels that my friends are on to do the ending of the show, which I should have gotten 2.5 hours ago. So it was not a good situation for me. Please know that, as I've said before in this podcast, I support Alone. I think they're innovative. I think they're creative. But I have had this problem a couple of times in their shows where things derail. Mike, you and I did a scavenger hunt a while back with them that did not go well. Mm-hmm. So this is now a track record for me and my experience with Alone. Not everyone has this experience. But I want to stress this repeatedly. I support them. I think they're innovative. I love the fact that they're doing something nobody else is out there doing. So I end up at the booth. And the woman says, oh, well, I'm going to put everyone through in the order that you arrived. And she looked at me, and I don't know what I looked like. But she looked at me and she said, is there something wrong? And so eventually what happened is the people in line in front of me said, I was like, look, is everything okay? And I said, look, I'm missing a panel. I got bad information as I was going through the show. I'm trying to catch up. And so the other people in the line so graciously said, you know what, if you're missing a panel, it's like, go through first. And they were so kind about it. And I said, I really don't want to do that. Go in the order that you came. It's like, I'm fine. And they rose to the occasion. They said, look, no, go on through. So it was one of those moments, those community moments of like, thank you so much. And I told the girl, I said, just give me a couple seconds to catch my breath. And Mike, that ending, I freaking loved. Like, I had such a good time. The last, how long was that ending? Was it 7 minutes, 8 minutes?
I always lose track of time when I'm in those situations.
Oh, and I did too. And the freaky thing was, it was... absolutely, in case they do anything like this at another convention, and they're going to Scare LA next weekend. I do not want to say what, but that was joyful, what happened at the end of this show. And it shifted everything for me. You know, it's like I had such a ridiculously bad experience in the show but that last 7 or 8 minutes, like I absolutely loved. I am so glad that I ran into you, because if I hadn't run into you when I did, I would not have had that experience.
Right.
Now,
You're welcome.
I'm
just kidding.
I really appreciate it, because if I hadn't, I literally would have walked out being disappointed in the Alone show because it was such a disappointing show. The ending was great, and it was such a good time, because it was everything that we like about Alone was in that last 10 minutes or so. And I appreciate it, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm so grateful for it. It was just very frustrating for me getting there. It was a really bad experience getting there.
Did you have any weird things happen to you in there?
Yes. I didn't get anything placed on my body the way some people did. I know some people got things. I didn't get any of that.
Mm-hmm.
I got lots of physical attention, shall we say. And at one point, I realized that I should note that I was blindfolded for the ending of the show. And at one point, I hit somebody. And I heard this very polite, excuse me. And at that moment, I realized that I was no longer in the Alone show. I was out somewhere in public again. And it was an awesome feeling of like, oh, wow, they are really messing with me right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was, and I don't want to give the ending of the show away, but it's like, I think you can gather from what Mike and I have described, like, they move you from place to place quite often. And I was being moved through the convention, blindfolded, and the ending of the show was quite cool. Now, I have given a bad experience with Alone, and I like I said, I thought the ending was wonderful. I do want to point something out. I lost my glasses during the show at the very end because I was being physically moved. And again, it's that running in the dark thing. I was running in the dark. I was there was a lot of fun going on. There was a lot of physical activity there at the end, which I absolutely loved. It was my favorite. Again, it was one of my favorite things of the whole convention, probably. But I will say this. I lost my glasses inside that show, and I got contacted by Alone, and they said, you need to come back to our booth because we have something of yours. And this was hysterical. The creator of Alone, one of the creators of Alone, actually had someone send me a text and a photo of him wearing my glasses. and the text was, you need to come back to the Alone booth. And it took me several moments of, wait, why did I get this picture? And then I realized he's wearing my eyeglasses.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was hysterical. And so I went back, and I just want to pay them this compliment. I went up to them, and I explained to them, I said, look, this happened in the show, and you need to know 9 people were downstairs in the wrong location trying to figure out this really confusing clue. And they said, oh, wait. And then I explained to them that they had written the number on my head, and they both looked at me and went, oh, like that shouldn't have happened. That's too much. That was too complicated. And what they did is the next day, I know that they fixed the clue that we got that didn't make sense to you or me. So much credit to them of like as soon as they heard about that, they looked at me and they went, we're really sorry. We will fix this. And I talked to people who went through it on Sunday, and they fixed it.
Cool.
Lawrence and Devin, thank you so much for that. It was like, I'm not exactly sure, like what could have worked out better that day. But thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you so much for, getting my glasses back to me. And changing the show the way you did, because I let Lawrence know. I said, look, you had 9 people lost trying to go to hotel rooms, like trying to figure stuff out because of I think I used a naturally occurring triangle on the ground of a curb, and they corrected it the next day. And I think that speaks very highly of them. So I have very mixed feelings about Alone. But I do support them, and I think they're doing something nobody else out there is doing anything like. And I pay them all the respect for that.
Yeah, and seeing them at Midsummer Scream made me even more excited to see them at Scare LA, because they will have a different show. The show at Midsummer Scream was called Alone Drinks From Your Face. And then the show this coming weekend at Scare LA is called The Mushin of the Ashendir Clan. So I have no idea what that is going to entail, but I'm really looking forward to it. For more information on Alone, you can check them out on the web at thealoneexperience.com, on Facebook, The Alone Experience, on Instagram, Alone Experience, and on Twitter, Alone Experience.
We also want to point to something that Mike and I have a great deal of affection for. There was a panel at Midsummer Scream that featured Delusion. Delusion, they call themselves an interactive play. Delusion is one of the best shows in Los Angeles, hands down.
And unfortunately, the last 2 years, they have been dark. They've had issues finding a place to hold this. And this panel was to announce that they are back this year. And we are so beyond excited to be able to go to Delusion again. And
yeah, this is possibly more than anything else of the entire Halloween season. I am looking forward to Delusion returning. Basically, we just wanted to mention them. It was really nice to see everyone talking on the panel about the creation of Delusion. It is an interactive play. If you've never been, we highly recommend it. It is a piece of theater that you walk through and interact with.
And it's so creepy. It's wonderful.
It's excellent.
And if you listen to this podcast and you agree with our opinions on some things, and you will trust us blindly when we say things like this, but if you do anything, make sure you go to Delusion this year. You will not regret it.
If you want more information on Delusion, go to enterdelusion.com. On Facebook, also look for Enter Delusion. On Instagram, they are Enter Delusion. And on Twitter, they are Enter Delusion. Tickets are going on sale this week.
And for the other thing that we would say, just trust us and go, Motel 6 Feet Under was at Midsummer Scream. And we were so happy that they were at Midsummer Scream.
Absolutely.
We finally got to introduce ourselves to Carolyn, the owner of Motel 6 Feet Under. And wow, it was one of the highlights of the whole convention for me, just talking to her.
Absolutely. It's like I was raised in the Deep South, and the phrase comes to mind, these are good people.
Yeah, you can tell there's sincerity there, there's goodness, there's kindness, there's love for Halloween and in a haunted house. Like, you can just tell all of that from talking to her and her brother. And when we were speaking to her, she mentioned to us that they use our podcast review of them in a video, and we
Really?
had no idea.
Yeah, that's true.
And so when we left that interview, I went to a quiet corner and watched the video on my phone, and there's our review from episode 4, which seems so long ago. Even though it's less than a year ago, it seems so long ago. And they have our whole review and our intro for the podcast, and that's what the whole video is. It looks like it's a walkthrough of the haunt with Russell and I talking about it. And thank you so much for that. Like, that was an amazing surprise that you gave us.
Yeah, it's quite the gift, and it's funny because you can tell that we were so happy to find them.
Yeah, it was just such a great experience to finally meet them, and we can't wait to see what they have in store for this year. We wanted to mention them because at their booth they did a scream test, and if you went in their booth and screamed, you could get a free ticket to the show this year. And so Russell and I went in and screamed, and I believe that is going to be made live at some point, so people can see us screaming on
that would be
Facebook.
awesome. I want to see us screaming.
Yeah. We were able to get Carolyn for a few minutes to discuss what's happening with Motel 6 Feet Under. So here is an interview with Carolyn. And again, sorry for the car horns and the screaming and all of that. They were near the Hall of Shadows, which was the haunted houses area. So please bear that in mind for the audio quality. So here's an interview with Carolyn.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Carpenter, and I'm here at Midsummer Scream with Motel 6 Feet Under. We're a new haunt in our second year over at the Anaheim Business Expo Center, and we open on October 7th, and we're really excited to be here.
Your haunt was one of our favorite haunts last year. We loved it so much. I was wondering,
Could you tell us a little bit about this year, what's coming up, if there's any new surprises, things like that?
We have a few new surprises. We actually did a survey last year to see what was the scariest thing, and hands down, we had a little girl in there last year that hands down she won the survey. So she's coming back in a very, very big way. We've actually dubbed the Boo Crew, and she's Mabel, and she's got 4 friends. And they're coming back, and we're introducing all of those characters this year, as well as some other. We have, haunted tourists and all kinds of creepy people running around, and undead people running around the Motel 6 Feet Under. So we're actually having some auditions on August 20th and 21st from 9 to 12. You can find information about that at our website.
And what is the website, and how else can people find you?
We are located this year we'll be at the Anaheim Business Expo Center, which is right across the freeway from Disneyland. It's 1960 South Anaheim Way, and it's www.motel6feetunder.org. So all of the information about the auditions, there's a form to fill out to audition, and everything will be on the website too.
And do you have Facebook or Instagram?
Yes, Facebook and Instagram. So definitely check us out, like our page, and you can sign up for our mailing list. We do a lot of giveaways. We love to give out. We have wonderful new shirts from Tino Evil, so we'd love to give some of those away. We give out our regular shirts. We have all kinds of stuff. We just love to create value for people. So we want to create as much things that we can give away as possible. So definitely sign up on the mailing list.
That's awesome. So definitely check them out. Like I said, it was one of our top 3 last year, and they're giving away stuff for free. So you have something that's amazing, and they're giving away free stuff. You can't beat that.
Really happy to hear that little girl character is coming back, and the whole team coming with her sounds like an awesome addition.
Mm-hmm.
So, question for you: one of the reasons that Mike and I absolutely loved your haunt last year, you have one of the most creative floor plans and the use of it, and we very hard didn't want to spoil too much, but it's like. We'd love to know, is there going to be surprises along those same lines this year?
Oh, yes. We have Colin David from High Tech Haunts. He does our animatronics, and he does our floor plan, and he's the sick, twisted brain behind all of that. And it's even more confusing this year. We want you to check in and really get lost. So we are doing our best to a lot of tricks and turns around the way to really get you lost and not know which way is which.
And that aspect of your haunt is one of the reasons Mike and I loved it so much. It was literally you entered a different world, and you had to spend time there to figure your way out. We really, really liked that. And also really glad to hear your animatronics, you do a lot with motion sensors and things being triggered by action in the room, which really does take people by surprise. And that's another thing that we really enjoyed about your haunt. So you mentioned High Tech Haunts. Tell us a little about them and you working with them.
High Tech Haunts, they started doing our animatronics, and so and also our floor plan, kind of the design factor of our haunt. So we work very closely with them, and now they've branched into doing even more. Basically, they're a company that wants to support haunts in any way possible, through business, through the actual production or whatever. So one of the things that they're launching is a safety plan. So they're trying to help haunts. It's really hard to create a safety plan. It's so time consuming. We're all do-it-yourselfers, and we want to create things. Nobody wants to sit down and create a safety plan. It's really hard. So we're trying to make it so that there's downloads and we've kind of teamed up, and we're helping as well to create downloads for people so that you can just download the things and take them to your haunt and put them in your plan. And we're also creating some webinars. The Boo Crew is helping out with that too. We have Bones, who's actually lurking right behind you. We have Bones, and he kind of helps us out. So that's Bones. He's one of the Boo Crew, and he kind of is helping out. You can go to the High Tech Haunts website or the High Tech Haunts Facebook page, and you can see some videos of Bones demonstrating basically what not to do. So we like to have fun with it too. Yeah, Bones, you're not so good. You're not so great. Sorry.
Yeah.
He's very cute.
That's
but
excellent.
Yeah.
It's an excellent idea for having worked in haunts. It's an excellent idea, and it's something that a lot of people don't think about enough in haunts. And I apologize, during the middle of that interview, I did get scared by a character creeping up and tapping me on the shoulder.
He's harmless, maybe.
He seems very nice because he's patting me. So one other question: who else do we need to know about on your team?
We have, it's a family-friendly, actually, we should probably say that too. It's a family-friendly haunt. We call it chainsaw-free. So it's not a lot of blood and guts and gore. It's more, like you said, the kind of pop-out scares and that kind of thing. So it's a family affair. We have my kids, my brother's kids, and we're all related. So those are the main people. We have a makeup artist who's coming on board this year for the first time, and a really fantastic costumer who's coming on for the first time. And all of their names and information is on our website as well. So definitely go look those up and use them for their haunts. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by bones. But really High Tech Haunts is really the one that does the most of the design. I handle the marketing and everything.
Do they have a website?
They do. hightechhaunts.com.
All right, great.
And it's
Thank you very much.
HITECHHAUNT.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
During that interview, you heard reference to something called the Boo Crew. That is, it stands for Building Occupational Opportunities. Motel 6 Feet Under actually encourages employment opportunities in their community. That's part of why they exist. So we would like everyone to go out and support Motel 6 Feet Under, mainly because they're just really a good haunted house. They're so much fun. But they're trying to give back to the community as well by being there for their community. Thank you very much to Carolyn for speaking with us.
For more information on Motel 6 Feet Under, you can find them on the web at motel6feetunder.org, on Facebook, Motel 6 Feet Under, on Instagram, Motel6FU, and also on Twitter, Motel6FU.
How old are you, 12?
Sometimes.
Following that interview, we literally stepped a few feet across the showroom floor at Midsummer Scream, and we talked to the people from Escape Room in a Box. And we got to play yet another cool little mini puzzle challenge game.
Yeah.
I love the fact that there were so many of these at Midsummer Scream this year. They're so fun.
It made time fly by so fast.
Yeah. Mike, you were a little bit more aware of Escape Room in a Box. I had heard of them. But we did manage to get a few minutes with Juliana, who's one of the people behind Escape Room in a Box, and managed to talk to her. This is such an inspirational story behind Escape Room in a Box.
Yeah, and it's really cool because they're fans of escape rooms and they're fan of board games. So what happens? You combine them together. And in this interview, one of the things I bring up is replayability, because that was the first thing I thought of with a board game and an escape room. It was like, wait a minute, how can this happen? And she explains that. I don't want to steal her thunder, but yeah, I had heard about them and actually had a Twitter conversation with the doctor character.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's how I became aware of them, and they mentioned the podcast and whatnot. So when I found out they were here, I made sure to reach out to them and like, hey, which one of you is Dr. Na?
Oh, that's awesome.
And so, yeah, so it's a pre-order right now. It's not available just yet. They had a Kickstarter, and they sold out of that. But you can pre-order it. And we actually have a $10 off link for you, which will be in the show notes. It's not a coupon code. It's an actual link to a different cart if you want to order it. So here's the interview that we did with Juliana.
I'm Juliana Patel from Escape Room in a Box.
So we just played Escape Room in a Box, Russell and I, and we escaped. It's really fun. When I first heard about it, because we've done so many escape rooms, it's like, can this really have the same kind of impact? And, just doing it here at your booth, it did. It was really fun. I mean, you can't escape a room, but the puzzles were challenging, and you had to help me a couple times because I got confused. But can you tell us about how it came about and the history?
This is just like a little mini convention puzzle. So this is just like a little quick 10-minute puzzle. The puzzles in the box are even more layered. I wouldn't say they're about that level of challenge, but there's all different kinds of puzzles, and they all feed into each other as well. So it spins a very complex web in the game. So we are huge escape room fans, obviously, and then we also love at-home game nights where we can just hang out with our friends. And one thing that we kind of missed with going to escape rooms that we love was that after the hour you have to leave and you have to get out of there, and we wanted to be able to kind of make a whole evening of it and sit around and really like pick over the puzzles and who did what and how did it go down. So we looked and we were shocked that it didn't exist already, and we said, well, we love puzzles and we love games. It's like we've been training our whole lives to do this. Let's make an escape room in a box. So we did, and we play tested it about 1 million times, because unlike an escape room, you're not there to be able to kind of see, oh, everyone's going in this direction that we never expected. So we're sending out these boxes. They have to work for every group in whatever direction they're going to go. So we had to do a massive amount of play testing. Put it on Kickstarter. It was incredibly successful. We were blown away. We made almost 7 times our funding goal. We sold close to 2,500 games. We made over $130,000. It was amazing. And now we're in manufacturing. So it's a super complex game. So it's not just a board and cards and dice. There's locked boxes and locked jars and petri dishes and syringes and test tubes and things layered inside of things and things hidden. So it's a long and complex process, but we've promised our Kickstarter backers will deliver by February of 2017, and we're on track for that right now.
How is the replayability?
We wanted to give our backers and the people who purchase our game a little bit more. So it comes with a refill pack. So once you've played it once and you've solved the game, you know all the answers to the puzzles, so you can't solve it again, but you become the dungeon master in D&D, where you become the scientist. And when you reconstruct the box, there's certain things that you don't put back inside, and you're in control of them. So then you can invite other friends over to play, and you lead them through the game, and it's up to you. You can make it a harder game, you can make it an easier game, you could make it a funnier game. So it's really up to you what you want the experience to be for the different groups that you host playing through the game.
And for the refill packs, is that something that you're going to be doing different versions of going forward?
Well, the refill pack is going to be, it's the same puzzles. Because of the way it's all layered together so intricately, it's not just a matter of putting in a new puzzle, because it would affect a chain reaction way down the line. So the refill pack is going to just be as it is, but we definitely plan on doing a series. We've already announced our next game is going to be Escape Room in a Box, The Magician's Spellbook. So that's going to be fantasy adventure sort of world, which we're very excited about.
In a typical escape room that you mentioned that you love, where you go with your friends to this room, but you have to leave, there's usually a clue factor involved, where you do have the option of, if you're just plain stuck. Did you take that into consideration, and how is that handled in this situation where you're playing the home version?
Absolutely. We have several layers of that built in. So I don't want to go into too specific, but there is help with clues if you need help with clues. And then if you just really need help, you are never going to get past this puzzle, there's something to help you with that as well.
We call you in the middle of the night, yes?
At all hours, please.
Well, that would be a nightmare.
Nightmare. I already have 2 children. I don't need anyone else waking me up in the middle of the night.
So, no, that's very interesting, because when I first heard the description, that was one of the first things I asked myself. So, yeah, it's great that it's built into the box.
Definitely.
So.
You can get hints as needed, and you can also get a full walkthrough if you're just dying.
So. We would never go that far.
No, some people are like, we will never use a hint, even though they probably would have had a slightly more fun experience if they had just caved and used the hint, but they were set on it and determined they were not going to use it.
So where can someone find it, and how much does it cost?
Sure. So we have a website, www.escaperoominabox.com. We wanted it to be as clear as possible, escaperoominabox.com. And you can pre-order there. It is $60.
Do you have a Facebook page or Instagram?
Absolutely. We're everywhere. So we are on Facebook, Escape Room in a Box, Instagram, Escape Room in a Box. We're on Twitter, Escape Room Inbox. They would not let us put the A in. It was too long. So on Twitter, we're Escape Room Inbox. But everywhere else, Escape Room in a Box.
Thank you so much for talking with us. Thank you for meeting with us here at Midsummer Scream. We had a blast playing your mini puzzle. Good luck in the future. We'll be talking to you again soon, I'm sure.
Thank you. I hope so. This was so great. Thanks so much.
Thank you. So thank you again, Juliana, for that interview. And then the last thing we did was another escape room. This is from a company called 60 Out. They used to be Escape Key Room, but they have a new name, but all of their web information is the same. And we went into a room, and
it was a box. It was a box.
Yeah.
The
It
little
was a
game was
box.
called Quest in a Box, and you literally walked into a box.
But a box could be a room.
So that's true. It was a room.
But a room is not always a box.
Oh, wow. You're getting metaphysical.
I'm trying to teach you, Scribe.
I found this really kind of goofy fun, and it I don't know how to describe this, but part of the challenge of this is because it was such a small space that we were in and there were 4 of us in the space, part of the challenge of doing this is we actually got in each other's way, not just by physically. They had something in the center of the room that you had to open, and there were clues around the small space. How big do you think that space was?
Maybe 8 by 8.
Yeah, and then the center was taken up by like a table formation.
Yeah.
So you had to move around the table, and what we found was that that you had to look at the walls, you had to look at panels, there were things attached to the center table that you all came into play in the puzzles and the clues. But we found a couple of times that we realized like, oh wait, like I know we Mike, you were like trying to work the lock, and we had to have you move because we realized there was a clue hidden behind you.
Right.
And that happened once with Debbie as well. And but yeah, this was actually really kind of clever, and it was we were going to be given 15 minutes, and we got in at about just under 12. We got out, but it was pretty fun and challenging, and I definitely, this is one that I have been looking at because we're looking at other escape rooms to do, and a couple of their rooms seem intriguing to me. So I'd like to go, and especially after this, I'd definitely like to give their full rooms a try.
Yeah, this room seemed more like a traditional escape room, just in a miniature size for a convention.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I really like this one. I like the puzzles, and it was very high-tech influenced in a way without having high-tech puzzles, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely had the sterile scientific feel about it. And you basically had to open something which connected to something else which allowed you to open the door. But the puzzles were very visual for one thing, which I like that aspect of it. Things you had to put together and then match other. There was I don't want to say that because it would be giving too much away. So and Mike, by the way, that I sometimes get very easily confused in escape rooms. I would like to ask you a question about this.
Yeah.
At the end, there were 4 of us in the room. 3 people did something wrong. Who was the person who figured out that puzzle?
Well, it was you. Big deal.
Yeah! Give me credit!
Yeah, I guess if you don't ever do anything like that, you want the credit the one time you do it.
I was just proud of the fact
milk
that
it while you
everyone
can.
in the room, and I finally just picked up the sheet of paper and read through the clue and went, no, everyone's doing this wrong.
To be fair, though, it wasn't everyone. It was me.
Oh. No, I thought, no.
I was the one who read the clue and wrote things down.
I know, but I thought Debbie also did a pass on that.
No, it was just me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me feel even better.
Yeah. That doesn't mean that Kit Kats are better, but
no,
whatever.
Kit Kats are better.
Whatever.
Let's just say there was a keypad involved. It was just one of those little mini moments of, oh wait, now it makes sense to me. So I was very happy about it.
There's a first time for everything.
Oh, it was not my first time.
I know. I'm just teasing.
So,
you helped us escape. So
yeah, thank you.
But this also goes to the point of teamwork and having someone else look at something when you get stuck.
We were convinced we had to have it right.
Right.
And what we were confused on was, and this is a very good point, it was one of those, it's like the trick math equations you get in 6th grade.
Yeah.
Of like, look at this picture and how many squares do you see? It was sort of along those lines in a physical space. And so we kept trying different numbers because you could look at it 2 different ways. It was just a matter of looking at it differently. So I actually really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that room.
Yeah, and I wanted to give a thank you to the person that was running it, and I forget your name. I'm so sorry, but they were booked up pretty much all day, and we took the last time slot we could on Sunday. When our time slot came, one of our team was doing alone, and so he said, well, you can come back at this time, later in the day. So even though they were fully booked and it was our fault that we didn't have everyone there, he let us come back. So thank you for that. We're so glad that you let us come back because this room was super fun. It was a great way to end the convention. So thank you again.
As Mike mentioned, this was a company called 60 Out, but they used to be Escape Key Room. So on the web, go to escapekeyroom.com. On Facebook, also Escape Key Room. Instagram is Escape Key Room. And Twitter is also Escape Key Room, all one word.
One thing we didn't mention are kind of I call these side puzzles, but it has nothing to do with puzzles or escape rooms, but
all right.
It's like the other things that were happening that you could do.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, the Hall of Shadows.
Which was very cool.
Yeah, which was an area of 9 haunted attractions. They were mini walkthroughs of some of the home haunts and some of the professional haunts that were going on. So just having that there was really cool because you got an early taste of some of the haunted houses that were coming. There was a zombie shooting gallery that we went to, and you could win zombies and zombie ducks and things like that. And that was super fun.
Little creepy blow-up zombie dolls. So yeah, that was fun. Also, there were several booths that had little video game demonstrations where you could put on a VR headset and shoot zombies or other demonic creatures of kinds.
That zombie shooting VR game was
so
fun.
It was fun. I died, but it was fun. It was absolutely fun.
And that was run by some of the people from Dread Central.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so if you're into horror, check out dreadcentral.com. They have a great horror website with all the latest news and everything. And they also have a subscription box called Box of Dread. So if you like horror goodies that you get surprised with every month, check that out as well. There was also a coffin ride, and I took that. That was basically letting you know what it would feel like inside the coffin if you were dead and going to the graveyard from the church.
Unfortunately, I missed out on that because just time ran out.
Yeah.
How was it?
It was fun. Yeah, it's completely pitch black, so if you're claustrophobic, you're in a coffin that's sealed. But it was really fun, and like you hear the caretakers' voices and everything like that. Yeah, it's a definitely fun time. I'm assuming they'll probably be at Scare LA, so you can probably check it out there.
I've seen that actually before at another convention, and definitely I will check that out when I run into them again.
One booth I was excited to see was Dearly Departed. We've taken almost all of their tours at this point, and they have a new app out for iPhones, and it's a daily death calendar. And I just showed you this before the podcast.
I was unaware of this. Mike just showed this to me when he walked into my place. It was like, hey, did you know about this? It's very fun and very cool.
Yeah, and it tells you each day who died, how they died, where they're buried, and it's just a fun, creepy thing for people that are into creepy things. And if you're in the Los Angeles area, definitely go take one of their tours. You can check them out at dearlydepartedtours.com. So thank you to Midsummer Scream. Thank you for everything that you put together. It was a smash hit. We loved it. We hope it returns next year. We're definitely there. And you can find more information about Midsummer Scream at midsummerscream.org and on Facebook at Midsummer Scream, and also on Twitter and Instagram at Midsummer Scream.
I want to also add my congratulations to the entire staff, the team behind Midsummer Scream, the volunteers. They did a stellar job. This was a convention that I kept talking to people who were just having fun and having a good time, which that's the sign of a good convention, is when the conversations on the floor are upbeat and positive. I didn't run into anyone saying I had problems with my tickets or I had problems with this or that. The whole vibe of the convention was so positive and so upbeat. Congratulations, Midsummer Scream. You really, really came out. Oh my God, I'm going to say it. You came out screaming.
Oh.
I knew Mike would hate that. So congratulations to everyone involved.
And with that being said, I'm Mike.
And I'm Russell.
Thanks for listening.
Oh, great. Now you're going to give me a complex.
It's not anything bad. It's just me being me and you being you.
Okay.
Which is why we get along so well.
All right.
When we're not in escape rooms.